is and has always been fights about leadership and what to do with the resources. And like many people in countries around the world, you have people who take advantage of their positions and of people and of the things that they're able to access, and sometimes will hoard it and not extend that opportunity or those resources to other people. Something that opened my eyes was 2017 during Hurricane Maria, um, where devastation was brought onto the island. Yet, in particular, I remember the mayor wearing a freshly minted printed shirt, and she was taking advantage of this moment that was a tragedia, and she was advertising herself, doing what politicians do best. And to me, that was like, are you here for your politics or are you here for the people? And during those times, we would hear a lot of stories like us, Cafecito Break. We were um, the lead organization locally, raising alarm bells, and we worked with our local council member, congresswoman, and other local nonprofits to do donation drives. And the only reason that we were attached to it was because we were leading the way and being squeaky wheels and talking about donation drives because that hurricane season had already hit other parts. And it was that hurricane season too. I remember that when the hurricane um destroyed, I believe, parts. They did some damage in Texas, if I'm not mistaken. This was some years ago. And we're talking about 2017, mi gente. Um, there were people in my life, there were activist friends in my life who had very little sympathy for anything that happened to people in Texas because the assumption was that whoever was getting hurt, it was white people, and white people equals more resources. So after them, let them figure it out for ourselves. We need to focus on just the Puerto Ricans. Well, in Brooklyn, um, we did just that. We focused not just on the Puerto Ricans, but people in Puerto Rico and other neighboring islands that were affected. And people, even there were like little drives on top of the main drives. And one thing that we found difficult was the easy part was actually gathering goods. The hard part was sending it. Do you know why? Because we kept hearing bochinches from people in Puerto Rico that crazy stuff, that our stuff was going missing, that donations were going missing, that some donations were turning up in grocery stores. So if people were donating, let's say this was the bochinche canned goods or water for people to have that, whoever was managing and taking some of these things, they were using it and maybe repurposing it and selling. And if that bochinche wasn't bad enough, there was other bochinches of people who were being asked to drive and go into different parts in Puerto Rico to bring goods to people who couldn't travel. There were all these trees that were knocked down, these roads that were blocked, and there were people who were straight up saying, no, I didn't get the order to do that. It would be illegal for me to do that. I'm not going to do it. And meanwhile, there were folks who were saying, oh, heck to the freaking no. I'm not going to sit here and wait for somebody from the tippy top to give some freaking orders when I know that my peoples need help. Why am I even sharing this story? Everything has nuance to it. It opened my eyes to a couple of things that not everything is squeaky clean, and that there was assumed racism and just hurricane relief. Now, it won't surprise you if you've been keeping up with stories, and we learned that late last year, when there was that terrible flooding in North Carolina that hit certain parts of um our region on the at the southeast, the bochinche was, and I'm using bochinche because some of this bochinche is actually real, that certain people didn't really get help if there was an assumption that they may have been a Trump supporter. So then, piggyback from the bochinche that I told you about 2017, when I was hosting that time, Ruthie and she lives in Texas, and we're having and hosting a weekly podcast, and we're reading the news, and we have all these people that are connected to us. We're serving as mouthpieces. So I know for a fact that at that point, people in Texas needed help. And it was so disturbing to me that some people didn't really care to support anybody in Texas because, oh well, white people. And what a stupid, ignorant comment is that? Because in Texas, I've only visited Texas a couple of times. There's a whole lot of mix of everything. And it doesn't even matter. It's still human beings. What is happening to people? It's human beings. Where is the humanity?